It's fun so far. We're up to running about 50 questions, emails, and letters a day from people with questions about the open records law in Pennsylvania. And what I'd like to tell you, and first starting about this, is this. You know, I can come to you having done this in Illinois and bringing a great deal of expertise to this. And what I find no matter where I go to speak about this is there are crazy people on both sides of the open government equation. And I need to tell people that up front. On one hand, you have citizens and members of the media who are convinced that every public official is a criminal, and nothing that we say or do or give them will ever dissuade them of that thought. On the flip side, you have public officials that when you say, I'd like to see the school budget, what happens is what they hear is, you want to come into my living room and look at what? And so our role at the Office of Open Records is to establish a middle-of-the-road access, common sense brought to the table, because the reality is while citizens need access, public officials have a lot on their plate to do, and this has to be blended. We are never going to be able to please both sides of this equation, but I believe at the end of this 6-year term, if we can look back and say, we took a middle-of-the-road approach, we were able to help citizens garner access to their records, and at the same time, protected the duly undertaken tasks that public bodies have to handle, I think we will say that we have succeeded. The biggest change in this law, as I said to you, is the presumption. As of January 1st, every record in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is presumed to be open and available. It does not mean that every record is going to be available. It just means that that's where you start. You start with the idea that if somebody comes for a record, that you presume that it's open and available. Now, I have to confess that I still think of records as paper. You should, if you're a citizen or if you're a public official, you should get out of that mindset. Under this law, records are defined very broadly. It could be a book, it could be a map, it could be an audio tape, it could be a videotape. It could be an entire database. Emails are public record, available for inspection and copying. And cell phone records are public records. So it's not just pieces of paper anymore, okay? And if you're a citizen, keep in mind that, you know, a lot of times people will write to a public body and they'll say, under the right to know law, I want to know why you voted the way you did. That's not even in the ballpark here. This law is designed to govern the release of records. It's not designed for folks to answer questions. Now, the reality is if you're a public official, you're going to have to answer questions. But this law is geared toward the release of records. How do you get a record? If you're a legal resident of the United States, you can come to a public body and you can file a right-to-know request via email, fax, in person, or by U.S. mail. What happens is that the public body must respond within 5 business days. And at the end of those 5 business days, if you're a local agency, you need to put a letter in the mail by day 5, on day 5, that says you either give the records, you deny the records, or you invoke a 30-day extension. At the end of the 30 days, you have to pony up. You either give the records or you deny the records. Now, I had a mayor in Illinois that on letterhead responded to a right-to-know request, and he said, you've asked for these records, your request is denied, it's none of your business. Don't do that here in the Commonwealth. You have to tell them why. You have to cite the legal reason why the record is or is not available. There's a lot of reasons under this law to withhold a record. There's 30 of them, in fact. So while there's a great presumption that records are open and available, there's a lot of reasons to withhold records. Some of those issues deal with security, personnel. Some of those deal with in police investigations. Let's inject this here. Police traffic reports are public record. Police incident reports are public record. However, investigative materials are not public record. So if you go and you want, a copy of the detective's notes from the murder at 5th and Main, you're not going to get them. But under the right-to-know law, you would be able to get traffic reports and you'd be able to get incident reports. 911 tapes are not available under this law. But there's a big exception to that and every other record. If the head of a local agency believes that the public interest is outweighed by releasing that record, every agency has discretion under this law to release the record. So what do I mean by that? What it simply means is this. The right-to-know law does not prevent a public body from releasing information. It doesn't mean just because it falls into one of the exceptions that means you must withhold it. It doesn't mean that. It just means that if you so choose, you can under this law.